Hey everyone, welcome back to Family Huddle. I was just sitting here talking with my friend Marty the monkey about the virtue of faith, our virtue this month, and we thought it would be really helpful if we could think of a saint that would be a good example for us. So, you think it'd be a good idea? No, I'm not really going to do a puppet show. That would be really corny. But I am going to talk to you about a saint. The saint I'm going to talk to you about is Saint Thomas Aquinas. I'm sure many of you have heard of him. He lived in the 1200s. And from an early age, Thomas was very drawn to God. His parents didn't necessarily support that for whatever reason, but eventually he did join a Dominican monastery and became a priest. But from the very beginning, he was really kind of quiet, and his fellow classmates thought he was dumb because he was quiet. In fact, they called him, so not very nice, they called him the dumb ox. Eventually, he found confidence and began to express his thoughts, and people were blown away by his learning. He wrote many books about God and debated people who disagreed with him about how loving and good God is. But even though he disputed what the people said about God, Thomas always treated them with respect and kindness. Thomas had always had faith, but it didn't stop him from asking about God and growing in his faith. The interesting thing about Thomas's approach to the virtue of faith is that for him, God was not a subject to be studied like math or science or spelling. For Thomas, Jesus was his best friend, who he continually tried to get to know better. When he struggled with a question or his faith weakened, he didn't run away from God into a bunch of distractions. A lot of us do that kind of thing. I know I'm guilty of that. Instead, Thomas would bring his feelings constantly to God in prayer. A great example of this is it's said that when he was particularly struggling with a question, he would go into the chapel and he would lean his head against the tabernacle where Jesus is present in the Eucharist, and he would tap on it and he would beg God to help him with the question, to help him to know what God wants him to do. So what are some things we can learn from Thomas's example? One, we need to feed our faith. We are never a finished product. We need to feed our faith through prayer, the sacraments, good conversation with friends, reading books, things like that. Number two, we need to not be afraid to ask God questions. God is not afraid of our questions. He wants to know what we're really feeling. That makes him very happy when we feel comfortable enough to bring whatever we're feeling to him. And number three, we need to be able to listen. Thomas would talk to God, but then he would listen, and that requires some silence. We're not a very silent world, and so we need to carve out a little bit of time, and it takes some practice to spend some time in silence with God, even if it's 2 or 3 minutes at the beginning. So here are some questions for you as a family you can go forward with. One, how can we as a family deepen our faith this coming week? Maybe you want to pray a rosary. Maybe you want to read the daily gospel. Or maybe just taking a walk together and thanking God for each other. And number two, Thomas found God in silence, and our world is so loud. So maybe think about when can we carve out a little bit of time as a family or individually to just spend a little bit of time with God with our own thoughts. All right, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.